What's up, everyone? This is Hunter. This is Hunter Bick, making my second video with StocksPoker.com. Today, we're back at Full Tilt Poker, and it's a much better day than the last time I played here. I found some pretty good tables, and as a result, I have a table of 5-10 on the right and a 3-6 table on the left. I spent some time this morning trying to data mine these games, and I've been in this table for probably 25 minutes. And the reason being, I've probably been this one on the left table for maybe 10 minutes. The reason I've just now starting the video is I wanted to get some decent reads, and I wanted to get some numbers on some of these guys before I ran the video. Mainly just because it seems like in a lot of videos, guys who play higher will come down to the low stakes and they don't have any reads on anybody. And while that's fine, the vast majority of the poker you're going to be playing, you're going to have reads on people and you're going to have numbers. So I'm trying to make it a little more realistic and a little closer to how everyone's used to playing. So with that, I'll talk about some of my reads here. Okay, on the left we have, you can see from my numbers, again, top left is VP, PFR, aggression by street, so flop, turn, river, and then we're going to raise this, by the way. And then right here we have cold call pre-flop, went to showdown, number of hands. So while we don't have a ton of hands on some of these guys, we can tell right away that some of these guys are just not phenomenal poker players. So these are excellent tables, especially from what I saw at Full Tilt in the past. I'm very pleased with this. Okay, I know that this guy very well could have an ace. He cold calls a lot. He could have ace 3. This I'm going to check and try to get a free card for my gut shot. I'm just going to check this. I will bet now if it gets checked to me. This I'm going to get rid of just because stacks are deep. I'm not thrilled about. If I had a jack, one of my overcards is tainted because of the 8. But I'm just going to fold that and be done with the hand. Here I'm going to bet. If I get check raise, I'm just going to probably just toss it. If one of these guys wanted to wait till the turn to check raise, which he did, okay, it's a small check raise though, and okay, I can call this. This is no problem. It's a small check raise. Stacks are deep. It's okay, and we hit. Now he's checking again. I have a very hard time believing that he is going to check a boat on this river. There aren't that many boats out there. On the other end, there's no way I'm just check this behind, given that he definitely has an ace. So we're going to make a nice value bet. If I can firewall, okay. Make a 375 value bet. I will fold if he pushes right here. But I think he's going to pay off with something like ace 10 maybe, ace jack. He should check raise the turn bigger. That was a problem. That was a mistake of his. Or maybe he was bluffing. He's not going to call it all. Okay. And let's see what he's got. Let's see what he had. Okay, ace king. I really don't like his pre-flop float. I think that's a raise every time. His turn check raise, I guess, okay. It was like a 2.5 check raise, 2.5 times my bet. I don't like the way he played that. His check call on the river, I guess, was okay, but I don't know. Mixed feelings. Anyway, this guy right here, Jenkins Center, he's the big reason I'm at this table. I doubled him up earlier when he had 6-5. He cold called my raise. I raised Jack 9 from the cutoff. He cold called with 6-5 in the small blind with only $500, and then the flop was 7-8-9, and he check raised all in. And I called his push. It was only like 300 more. I had top pair plus a gut shot plus a backdoor flush draw, and I wasn't in horrible shape. He had, and short stacks will do that so often with just like a bear 10 just for a naked open-ended straight draw. So I was fine with the call, but that's how he got his money. And after seeing him cold call 6-5 off in the small blind, I decided to stick around. Okay. I like this table on the left. Legal poker clearly is not very good. Look at the... Okay, we just flopped a very, very nice hand. We're going to make a C bet just like we would 90% of other flops. Now, from what I understand, these little metal things right here have to do with the Iron Man promotion. So clearly these guys... I don't know if I talked about this in my last video or not, but clearly these guys are winners. So, and look at this guy's numbers. He's pretty tight. Okay, let's see what happens here. I don't have any information on this guy, but your average player in these games is going to open the button very light. So we are going to 3-bet. Again, my 3-bet a little bigger than pot, just because we're out of position, and we want to make him pay to have position on us. So let's see what happens. And he calls. I'm not terribly excited about this, but he did think for a minute before calling. I'm going to continuation bet this. You know, this is a drawy flop, but at the same time, the draws he would have to have called with like 10-8, Queen 10, Jack 9. Okay, he likes his hand. I'm not going to continue here, especially since I have 0 fold equity. He just put half his money in the middle. So we are going to fold, but I don't mind. It's not the best board, but considering he doesn't have a read on me either, I don't mind a continuation bet there. You know, it's the first time I've ever 3-bet him. Neither one of us has ever played each other before. I'm just gonna, you know, play straightforward until I get a read. Okay. Fold this. Let's see what happens. So this guy raised, this guy cold called. He is now betting 65. Hopefully we'll get some numbers on this guy pretty soon. He's been here long enough. Okay. It's always nice to get a premium hand on the button. Need to reload over here again. Make a standard raise. Okay, I'm going to start 3-betting this guy. I'm not going to do it right here because I don't know enough. I don't know a ton about this guy, and that hand has some very big reverse implied odds. But I'm going to start 3-betting this guy light if he keeps raising this often. So that's something that we're going to look out for. Okay. Not the best flop. Okay. He bet 6 into a 43. I never let anyone get away with it. I raise these min bets so often. I mean, okay. I almost never don't raise there until I see somebody who continues to call my raises, and in that case, then I'll adjust. But until I see them calling that, I'm going to be raising a min bet like that every time. Yeah, I haven't been running that great overall. The last week or so, I've played a ton of hands, probably 10, 15,000 hands, which is quite a bit for me. The most I'll do is like 2,000 in a day, and that's a pretty big day for me generally. But haven't definitely been running under expectation, which is always frustrating. So I've been I dropped down a bunch. I've actually been playing a lot of I've been playing all 5, 10 and under. I'm taking a short break from 10, 20. Partially because I like to move down when I run badly, and also because I've been interested to see if my play is going to. I want to see how much lower stakes affected my play. I was curious to see if playing for $400 instead of $2,000 at a time was going to make me play better. And the reason I was curious is because just looking at my Poker Tractor numbers, I've been a solid winner at 10-20, but my 5-10 win rate is definitely higher. And I refuse to believe that the game is that much harder. My 5-10 win rate is like a whole Poker Tracker big bet higher than my 10-20 win rate. And yeah, it's a little tougher game, but I certainly don't think it's that big of a difference. So I'm playing a lot lower just in games that I'm way over bankrolled for, just to see if what I can do there. If I'm more comfortable, how I play, do I make better reads, or is the competition that much softer? And what I'm realizing so far is that if I'm way over bankrolled for a game, I tend to be much more. It's a good way to put it. My thought process, I guess, is just much more laid back, and I can kind of sit back and relax and make generally I can make my best decision, and it doesn't really hurt when I lose. So the result of that is I'm generally able to. I don't have a problem just going with my read. Even if I make just a ridiculous read that, like an all-in bluff or something like that, maybe it's a high variance play based on a pretty thin read, but if that's my gut feeling, I'm going to go with it. And it's much easier to do that for me, though I'm finding out it's much easier to do that at low stakes. So my plan is to really put in a lot of hands at 5-10 and below for the next 6 weeks or so, and go back to 10-20 once I'm overruled for it. And I really think that's going to help my results. So it's kind of exciting to come to that realization. I really think that's going to be positive going forward. So I would certainly encourage anyone who maybe is used to playing at the highest game they're bankrolled for to drop down and just see what happens. Just be observant and just see if you play a lot better, or how being over bankrolled affects your game. It certainly can't hurt, and okay, this guy. I'm gonna check behind here. I'm not afraid of getting check raised by this guy. He's so passive, but I think we missed. I think he has an ace. I think he has a weak ace. I don't think he's going to let go of it. So I think our best play there is to try to hit one of our many outs, 14 outs probably, and just value at the river when we hit. But we missed, so I'm just going to check. Okay, he had ace queen, and he did not play that well. And this game's so much softer than those 2-4 games I was on in the first videos. It's great. Okay, so this guy, what happened here? He limped in. He limped under the gun with ace-queen suited. That is phenomenal. And we're going to make a note of that. Ace-queen suited. And he never bet or raise. That's also important. So, okay. Now we have a good read on this guy. And I think the fact he just played his ace-queen like that, he was going to call a big bet on the river had we hit our flush or our 2-pair. So I think I played that hand well. There was no reason to put money in on that turn when I didn't think he was going to go anywhere. But I guess back to what I was saying, I would definitely encourage anyone to drop down a few levels below where you're used to playing. Like if you usually play 5-10, go play 2-4 or even 1, maybe not 1-2. 1-2's low, but definitely go play 2-4 for like 10,000 hands. I mean, you're not losing a whole lot of time at 5-10. It's not going to cost you much money. You're still going to be a winner at 2-4, but you may find some things out that when you truly don't have to worry about the money whatsoever, you might be playing a lot better, and it's certainly worth looking at. So that being said, that's something I'm gonna do my best to stick to, and I'll probably jump in at 10-20. I'll probably jump in an easy 10-20 game when I come across one, but by and large, I'm gonna be at 5-10 and under for 6 weeks, just so I can go back to 10-20 and not have to sweat, dropping 5 buy-ins in a session. So I think that's gonna be pretty cool, and I will definitely let everyone know how that works out. But it would be nice if I could run well, just for a week or so, but it's okay. That's how it goes. Okay, we got 5-5 here. I see a lot of open limping going on at both these tables, so that is always nice to see. Okay, we got some numbers on Billy Bob. Okay, my initial thoughts are he's a winning lag at 30-25. So we're going to call a call. And this guy just limp re-raised. He has about the same stats as Billy Bob over here. I'm not playing against this. I have seen guys start to do this with Ace King, but usually Ace King would even shove there. Okay, we're going to make a nice big raise with Ace Queen. Again, under the gun limper, this guy is not going to go anywhere unless I raise really big. So ideally, I want to raise to the maximum bet that he'll call with. We're a little bit deep. The button and I are a little bit deep, and you just can't play suited connectors in the blinds out of position. It's I wish you could, and I've tried to make that profitable way too many times, and it's just generally just a losing proposition. So you just got to pitch those hands. They are very tempting to play, though. You could re-raise them occasionally. I mean, that's fine. That's better than cold calling. But okay. 6-9 we can fold. This guy I'm going to re-raise. Actually, you know what? I changed. I take that back. We're deep. We're a little deep. You could re-raise this, or you could cold call. When it gets deep, money gets a little deeper, I much prefer to re-raise a hand like a suited connector or a pocket pair than a hand that's going to make a medium strength top pair hand. Those hands are, the deeper the stacks are, the greater the reverse implied odds are for good and okay top pair hands. So there's nothing wrong with just cold calling there. And the benefit of cold calling is you can also make a cheap bluff like I just did and take the pot down, even though it's multi-way. So far the play seems to be pretty straightforward. Probably because these guys don't know me, which is nice. Okay. Out of position. These guys aren't deep, so we can just make a normal raise. If Brecknell was over here, for an example, I would raise to maybe 45, just because cut down on his implied odds a little bit and make it clear to him that I like my hand and that he's going to need something to continue. And we take down the blinds. Okay. The other thing I've been trying to pay a lot of attention to lately is anything I can do to get an edge that has outside of the poker table. And what I mean by that is just things like keeping yourself in shape and eating well. I mean, Brian Townsend runs triathlons. I mean, and so many of just the top online and live players. Patrick Antonius is another great example. So many of those guys are just in killer shape because they work out like every single day. And, it's something I'm really, the last 2 years that I've been playing professionally, I've been pretty good about it. I'm really trying to step it up, though. And, you just have to look at it like, your brain is another muscle like anything else. And, you want your brain to be in great shape so you can play good poker, and it's going to make a big difference. And, if you can concentrate, I'll come back to this in a minute. Okay. I raised here. He's leading. I don't see any reason not to raise this. This is such a weak lead. He did fold last time. I'm like a small raise. This is like a half pot raise. I don't want him going anywhere, but he did. Last time he led weak and I raised him, he folded. And we don't want that to happen here. So this way, if he has a draw, maybe even a 7, he can call and continue. The problem with calling is there are a lot of straight scare cards that if they don't make him a straight, they still might kill my action. And we don't want either of those things to happen. So we want to get some money in this pot and try to get this guy pot committed. Okay, now he has done this again. The only hand I'm afraid of is a bigger set in 5-6. He's got 5-6. We're just going to have to fill up. So let's just push. With that bet, there's no way he's... Oh my god, I can't believe that. I didn't think there was any way he was going to fold after making that bet. He just put half his stack in and folded. So I'm surprised to see that. If I thought that was an option, I would have done something different. But that's okay. Still in a nice pot, and nothing wrong with that. But what I was saying, you have to treat your brain like any other muscle. I mean, if you're, we're so dependent on it for our our incomes and our ability to play good poker that the better shape you can keep your mind in, the better you're going to be long run. And if you're in if you go if you run 8 miles a day or something just sick, then your stamina is just going to be so much better. And if you're at a table with a bunch of other pros who are all good players, but you're able to concentrate for 2 hours longer than everyone else there, you're going to have that's going to be a period where you're going to have a big edge over these guys, especially like at the end of a long session where everyone's been playing a long session, and so things like that will can make a big long-term difference. And the same thing goes for eating well. I mean, if you read if you have done it, I've done some reading on specific foods that help your brain function and things that don't. And I mean, it's common sense that you shouldn't be eating double quarter pounders while you're playing poker, because it's just gonna make you tired and you're not gonna be able to play very long. But but things like nuts and fruits, and eating that stuff for breakfast and snacks while you're playing, like that's like the best thing you can do. And it's all it's all nutritional stuff that's going to keep your brain working well. So it's all important stuff to consider. I mean, the games are getting tougher, and everyone's starting to play generally pretty well. So this is just an example that it's important to be thinking, always be looking for things that are gonna give you an edge, that are gonna help you not only get an edge but maintain that edge over the competition. So it's really something to think about. I mean, my treadmill is probably the best money I've ever spent, not only for just staying in shape, but like after like a horrible day, like let's say I drop off like a -8 buy-in day, like it's just a disaster. I mean, go in there and run for 40 minutes, and you feel just so much better. So just things like that. I mean, eating well and working out is just an example. I mean, I'm sure there are plenty of things you can be doing to help your game that have nothing to do with poker strategy. So that's just that's something I've been trying to pay a lot of attention to lately. And I think I'm getting better at it. It's always been like in the back of my mind, but it's something I'm really trying to make a part of my routine lately. Okay, so let's see here. I almost made a 3-table video just because I found some other good tables, but I think if I did that, most of the discussion would be, it would be very focused towards just the hands. So maybe my next video will be 3 tables. I think 4 tables is a bit much, but two is a good balance for being able to talk about some other stuff on the side, and also being able to see some interesting hands. Full tilt poker is also so slow that I think 3 is very manageable here. 4 could probably even be fine at full tilt, but we'll see. So this guy raised, this guy 3-bet, this guy folded. Okay, we got another nice hand. If I get to see my cards. Okay. Legal Poker has just re-raised me. This guy has so little money left that we're just going to put this in. If he's got me, fine, but there's no way I'm folding. Okay, same hand. Okay. So Jenkins Center, what just happened here? This guy, wow, okay. So he's not afraid. He played for most of his stack with that. Okay, that's good to know. What did this guy call with? Is the wow. Oh, hell, I just misclicked. I did not even realize that. Well, we're obviously calling. Okay, that's fine. Come on, diamonds. Oh, no spades. That is so brutal. Unbelievable. Okay, that's unfortunate. If I hadn't misclicked, I would have been out on that flop because I would have bet he would have raised. But what can you do, I guess? That kind of sucks. Well, that's fine. Okay, so what do we have? This guy has open limped again. I'm just going to fold. Yeah. Heads up, I would have called that in a second, but that's okay. This guy's just so tight that I just don't see him continuing with much here. Oh, he's raising me. Okay, well, that's an easy fold. I mean, this guy's super tight. He's clearly capable of some moves. I mean, he did raise and then fold to a 3-bet on the button. It doesn't say that he's making a lot of moves, but you know, my guess is he's really not this tight. If I had to, okay. I'm really working on my play in the blinds. This has been a weak spot of mine, and when to go to the felt with marginal hands in a blind versus blind situation. And the higher up you play, the more important that particular situation is, just because you're going to be in it more often, because the higher games are generally tighter. So, and it's usually a spot that I generally just kind of avoided, you know, when I was playing 2-4 full time and whatnot. But you know, the higher games when you're in that situation a lot, it's just so important that it's strong, because it's gonna make a big part. It's gonna make up a big part of your win rate. Okay, this is a nice flop, and we are going to continuation bet this every single time. Over here, this guy cold calls. We're gonna put him all in for his last. Okay, this guy. You know what? I'm gonna shove here. I'm gonna shove. Even if my king isn't an out, my ace is probably an out, and I have a nut flush draw. And this guy has raised. Okay, and he folded. This guy has raised me, and this is a super dry board. I mean, there's no draw there. He has a queen, or he has a set, or he's making a total move, which this is a horrible board to make a move on, so I'm just going to fold. There's just no reason to do anything else there. So, yeah, I mean, on a queen 7 deuce board, I mean, you know, a lot of times I'll raise someone there if I have even a gut shot and I'm in position after I cold called him pre-flop. But, you know, on a drawless flop, I mean, if I were him, if I had a set, I would have floated there, simply because, you know, if I didn't have ace queen or king queen, like, what can I do, you know? So, legal poker just won. That's certainly a positive. Okay, this I'm going to 3-bet. And we're deep, and the reason I like the 3-bet here is because we're deep. And this guy knows he's going to have to play whatever he's got in a big pot out of position on all 3 streets, and that's just a horrible situation for him to be in. So, and I could make that play with air. I could make that with 7 deuce, just because he's in a terrible spot and he knows it, and he's not going to continue there without something decent. So, okay, he's going to raise the limper. Nothing wrong with that, but I can't do anything about it with ace 4. Okay, this is an easy raise. We're out of position, so I like to raise a little bit more. It's really important to pay attention to bet sizes. It's so easy just to hit the pot button pre-flop without giving it a whole lot of thought. But you got to look at position, stack sizes, how likely the guy is to call you. I mean, you got to think about all that stuff when you're sizing your bets. And it's just so important. Okay, I'm going to 3-bet this guy again, just because I just did it a minute ago. This is a move I learned from Kyle. And that when you 3-bet people in quick succession, it really pisses them off. And that's exactly what we want to do to this guy. So I guess he will probably be calling us here, since I just 3-bet him. And he does. Okay, this is a nice flop. Question is, how likely is he to check raise us? 'Cause I want to see this turn. I'm going to make it clear that I back up my 3-bets. If this had been like the third 3-bet, I probably would have just checked because I would anticipate a check raise coming. But right there, I've 3-betted before. We haven't played a 3-bet flop. I played a 3-bet flop with this guy, not with this guy, not with Brecknell. So I like the call. I like the c-bet there. And if he calls me, I definitely have 6 outs. There's no way he has 5-5. So, well, I guess he could have, but I don't think he would have called there. He wouldn't have called with it. So by the time we get to a turn, if he calls that, he's not going to have 5-5. So I think that was a good board to continuation bet. That's another area. When I first moved up to 5-10, I played 5-10 on and off for a long time. It didn't become my main game until probably early summer. And I initially struggled because you play so many more 3-bet pots at 5-10 and higher, and I struggled to get used to getting used to playing them. And finally 6 months later, I feel very, very comfortable with them. And because like everyone's so much more likely to make a move, and I'm the check fold, and things like all-in check raise, all-in bluffs, and it's so key to know when to make those moves and also when to defend against them. I mean, I've picked off check raise bluffs with ace king high in a 3-bet pot just because I knew it was so likely the guy had just totally whiffed, But you also have to, that's also getting to know your opponents. I knew this guy was calling my 3-bets with, suited connectors, and he wasn't afraid to make moves with them. But, it's when you get up to 5-10 and higher, that's becomes a super important skill, and it's a tough one to really get used to. Other than experience, it's really at least for me, it was tough to get the hang of. I'm sure some players have no problem, but for me, that was a challenge. Okay, so let's see what is going on. This guy has just open limped on the button. I'm going to keep playing this table even after the video is over, because this is just an all-around good spot. Okay, queen 7 off, queen 7 suited, excuse me. Bump this up. It's always nice having 2 really tight players in the blinds, because guys like this, they're either going to 3-bet you or fold. And most of the time they're going to be folding, obviously. And that's just good for business in general, especially when I can open just garbage hands on the button and get away with it. This is a float. I do not like this guy attacking my blinds like this, and I'm going to fold here. This is a horrible board. There's not a lot I can do about this, and he's going to have a draw. He's going to have a pair. This board hits his range pretty well. And this is not something I'm going to continue with. If this were a different board, I would consider a float and a turn bet, float and a turn raise. Whoop, that was a misclick. Or just even raising the flop. But it's very important not to let the small blind get away with much when you're the big blind in a blind versus blind situation. I'll 3-bet with air. I don't fold pre-flop often. I play a very high VP as the big blind in a blind war. Just because, he's going to have something so marginal so often, and it's a really great situation to be in. Okay. I checked down my misclick, and we split it. So I was king 9 suited. I would open there occasionally. King 9 off. I hate under the gun. It's just one of those hands that's it's gonna make a weak top pair often, and those just aren't hands we like to play. Okay, now I'm gonna open this for, let's see what this guy does. Okay. Pot is 160. I'm gonna make it 165 because the money's deep. That's about right. So he's gonna have to call up almost 10% of his stack to play with me. So that's okay. Sadly, this guy's gone, and he folded instantly. It's too bad this guy tried to. This guy isolating the limper hurt my value on that hand a lot because I know he's gonna isolate. He's gonna isolate this guy weakly, and therefore he's not gonna have a hand very often that's gonna stand up to my 3-bet. So what I'm gonna do is start 3-betting this guy light when he isolates this guy, because I want him to cut that crap out so that when I get a real hand, I can be in against the limper and not have like a double isolation thing. I don't want him limping and having to call a 3-bet. I want him limping and calling my raise, not this guy's raising my 3-bet. This is a nice flop for me, open-ended. I like to lead strongly when I flop draws out of the blinds, and it's basically just a balancing play so that I can. Now I'm going to check. I think this guy has a piece of this. He called, so he obviously has a piece of it, and I don't think he's good enough to put me on me leading my flush draw. The good news is that my 9 might actually be good here. I'm gonna raise 6s, but leading out of the blinds with draws is just a great thing to do because you got to mix it up. Sometimes check, sometimes bet, but because then you can do it with sets. You can do it with strong hands when a small blind, big blind, special type hands, and stuff like that. So you want to definitely use it as a way to balance your play. He checked behind. I wonder if he. I'm gonna pay this off because he could have Jack 10. This guy's so passive, but he limps a lot. He could have a 7. He could have a flush that he checked behind and wanted to slow play. There's not a 1-card straight out there. I'm gonna pay him off. Let's see what he's got. Okay, and he had an absolute monster, and that is just horrible. He should have raised the flop, bet the turn, bet bigger than that on the river. That was just a complete disaster. Guy got Nova. Okay, so we already have a note that he's super passive. Put very little in with this thing works. Check that. Top pair and flush draw. Okay, we will not be paying him off light again. That is just fine. The good news is that we already know that he plays his big hands very weakly. So the great thing about a guy like this is it's going to be hard, even when we run into a bigger hand against him, it's going to be hard to lose a lot of money. Just because he has no idea how to get value from those hands. So a very nice addition to the table. Okay. I wonder what he's got here. His range is wide, but I'll be interested to see what he's got. And he's betting 1/3 with 2 pair. That's just. I think he checked the turn behind too. That's by far my favorite part of that. Did he check the turn behind? Oh, he bet 14 into like a whatever it was, $50, $60 pot. Okay, that's just awesome. I'm gonna keep playing this table too. Actually, these are great tables. Well, I really appreciated everyone. I really appreciate everyone taking the time to leave me feedback about the last video in the forums. It was, first of all, it's awesome to see that everybody liked it. It was my first video I've made, so that was really cool to see. I'm gonna call here, and I got some feedback on a couple hands, and that was definitely cool. So please do that again because that was really helpful. And any suggestions or something you'd like to see in the future, definitely let me know. Okay, let's see here. Okay, if he checks, I'm gonna bet, but if he needs to be c-betting this board 100% of the time, that's not exactly the c-bet I had in mind. If I were him, I would have bet $60 here 100% of the time. Because he didn't, I'm going to be raising him to 85. I mean, this just screams I don't have a king, but I wanted to kind of test the waters and see how good my hand is. And I don't think this guy's... Okay, he calls me. Alright, well, he very well could have an ace, and he didn't fold, so he's got something. So I'm not firing again, but I like that. I would raise that most of the time. Let's hit the 10. Darn it. I like raising that a lot of the time. God, he checks again. The problem is I should have bet the turn, I think. I just don't know this guy that well. The problem is now I didn't bet the turn, so he could call me with his jack-jack, and man, I'm just going to give up. I hate to do it, but I think it's the right play. Okay. He had king-king. So, and he was waiting for me to bet the rest for him. 10-10. I go back and forth. Like, it's... Yeah, let's 3-bet. That's fine. I go back... A lot of times I'll just cold call here. Because it's kind of sneaky. No one expects you to be cold calling with 10-10. It's a great hand, and you just don't see that a lot. Okay. This board, this is a dry flop, and he knows that. And because we've been tangling a little bit, I'm expecting him to play back at me in the near future. So I'm just going to check here and see what develops. That's not a card I like. But, I don't have... We can't check again after he checks it twice. Okay, and he folds. King's a great card because that hits my ace-king very well squarely. So that was a really great bluff card for me. Okay, another limper, another good hand. Let's see what this guy does. But going back to that Queen-Jack hand, we do need to make a note about that. That if full tilt will... Okay. Lead weak with flopped boat. But King-King and Ace-King are like the only hands like on that flop that he could continue with there. Or Ace-3 if he had trips. But when I make that raise and he calls, like, there's just so few hands he can call there with. So that's why it's a great raise. And, I'm always looking for spots to bluff raise. And those are very often... It happens. They seem to occur very often when someone leads weak like that. Did I get my money? Is it coming? There we go. Okay. And that's a fold. This guy must really like his hand if he's raising. We haven't seen a whole lot of that. Oh, and he double. How did he double up? Must have missed that. Okay. Gotta wrap this up. I'm going to pause it, open up Poker Tracker, and be back in a minute. Okay. Let's see. Obviously, I didn't just play 450 hands. This counts some of the hands I played. Actually, I got to say specific date. There we go. Okay, so basically a break-even session. Like I said, I played a few hands before the video started. But we let's see, 5-10 was our good table. We made six Poker Tracker big blinds per 100, which is a great result. That's a very solid win rate. 3-6, we couldn't really get anything going on that table, so we gave back a little bit there. Just no problem. Let's see. My VP was 22 and 32, and my PFR was 18 and 21. So, okay, a little looser than the 3-6 is a little looser than my normal game. This is much. The 5-10 is very close to my normal game at 21-17. That's pretty much right on target. but obviously very small. But very good session. We played very few hands, but you know, nothing wrong with breaking even either. So it's going to happen. But we did have some fun spots, and we picked up some good hands, and which were fun to play. So again, I hope everyone enjoyed it, and I know my thought process may have been a little sporadic, but hopefully everybody liked it, and give me some feedback, and talk to you guys soon. Thanks a lot. Bye.